Karchner from Coaches Connection. He and his buddy John Scott have been doing this forever. They're highly dialed in. So please ask every question. If you're trying to get a volleyball scholarship and you don't have your field level premium set up with me, you probably want to see me, so that is part of your high country fee. We pay for that, but that is how we link you into college coaching and what is open and what year people are looking for stuff. So we're trying to get our juniors and seniors out of the hopper here pretty quickly. Morning, Mauricia. And then after that, we will start moving down, and Chad will give you a lot of good info on what that's going to look like, and then we'll support it from there. So welcome, Chad. Thank you.
Appreciate it. I've got a loud voice, but I might be competing with the church next door, so I'll go ahead and use the same way to make it a little easier for everybody. How's everybody doing this morning? Still trying to wake up, huh? Yeah, I know, me too. As Coach Norman said, I'm Coach Chad Karchner, and I'm with an organization called College Coaches Connection. Coach John Scott, who's a good friend of mine for 30 plus years, is the founder of this organization. He's a college coach, and this organization was founded by college coaches. And there's a good reason for it. I'm going to just kind of put you a little bit on me and my story a little bit, because I'm probably a good example as to why what we do has been necessary. I'm getting way down here. As you can tell, I'm about 6'11", and I played high school basketball, and you can imagine, for those of you who are tall, when you grow tall like this, you tend to grow tall, and you're not necessarily always really athletic right from the start. You have to grow your body, right? So in high school, as I was growing, I would say I shot up. I was a sophomore. I was probably about 6 foot as a sophomore. By the time I was a junior, I was about 6'6". By the time I was a senior, I was 6'9". And then I kept growing even after high school. And you can imagine growing that quick. Not only was I not very athletic, I had a hard time walking down the halls of school without growing my own 2 feet. So I was not necessarily a premier athlete at that time. Now, did I play basketball? I did. I was a starting center for our team. I played at Brighton High School. Don't hold that against me. And at that time, we were ranked number 1 in the state of Utah. I was not one of the big scorers of the team, but I actually was a big shot blocker and played a lot of defense, and we were really good. And we had 6 seniors on that team, ranked number 1 in the state of Utah, going through beating about everybody. Now, I want to ask you guys a question. Going through this, I'm 6'11". I've got some really good ball players in this team. We're ranked number 1 in the state. How many of those 6 seniors do you think got recruited to go play college basketball right out of high school? Any ideas? Athletes? Guesses? I hear 1. Any other guesses? Correct answer is 0. Not one of us had any college offers or opportunities coming out of that senior year. And I'm here to talk to you and tell you why today, okay? I'm here to talk to you about the college recruiting process and give you some ideas on how things happen from a college coach's perspective. I want you to understand what these college coaches are up against as well when it comes to the recruiting process, okay? So we're going to go through that process a little bit. We're going to look at it from a college coach's perspective. Now, college coaches, guys, first thing I'm going to tell you about college coaches, everybody loves to look at college sports, and what do we all see? We see Division I basketball, we see Division I football, we see Division I whatever, and that's all we are focused on because why? They're on television all the time, right? They're right here local. We love to go support those teams and see the big games. We all wear here in Utah, the University of Utah swag, or the BYU swag, or the Utah State swag, right? And so we get hung up on and get caught up with these big time programs. Now, here's the first reality I'm going to give you when it comes to college coaches. You got your big D1 programs, and there's only about 25% of those D1 programs that have these multi-million-dollar budgets. Now, if you go across the board and you look at colleges across the country, there's over 2,200 colleges across the country that have college sports. And the average college recruiting budget for a college coach is about $2,500 a year. They're not like the big D1 programs who've got millions of dollars to spend. Now, if I'm a college coach and I've got $2,500 a year to go spend on college recruiting, how easy is it going to be for me to come to Utah to find student athletes to play my sport? So we're going to talk a little more about that, okay? So we go into, let's talk about a couple of things real quick. The first thing I want to go into with you, the College Bound Guide for the Student Athlete. This is a book that's put out by NCAA. It applies to all Division I, Division II schools. And there are certain requirements that student athletes have to meet, and there's certain rules that these colleges have to adhere by in order to recruit. You guys have heard about things like recruiting periods. You've heard about things like official visits, unofficial visits, right? And we all like, what does all that mean? Well, this College Bound Guide has all that in it. And they've got a really small Crib Notes version. A lot of you student athletes probably don't know what Crib Notes are anymore, but it's the condensed version, right? And then every year they put out the real book that's about this thick, with all the recruiting rules for that year that the college coach has to adhere to. When can I talk to a student athlete? When can I not talk to a student athlete? When can I actually offer business? When can I not? So these rules these coaches got to fit through, and there's reasons why or why not they may be reaching out, and when they're reaching out, and how they're reaching out. Okay? We talked about the NCAA Eligibility Center. How many of you have heard of the Eligibility Center? Hopefully most of you in here have. Coach Norman does a really good job, better than most club team coaches do, on educating their students on this. If you want to play NCAA Division I or Division II, you've got to be registered on the NCAA Eligibility Center. And all it is, it's a place for you to go in there and put your information in there. Now, college coaches are not going to use the Eligibility Center to come find you, but if they do find you, they're going to go there to do a few things. They're going to check your eligibility to see if you're even eligible to play in the NCAA. For one, they're going to see your grades, right? They're going to see if you hit all your core class assignments. Now, here's an interesting thing. There's requirements that we all have to graduate high school, classes that you have to take to graduate high school, but then there's also classes that you have to have fulfilled in order to play in the NCAA. Do you know what those are, and are you sure you're on track for that? A lot of times your student counselors don't even know this. They're going to get you graduated, but did I take that last core English classes required by the NCAA, or did I take that last core math classes required by the NCAA? I may not need to graduate, but if I want to play in the NCAA, I may need it. Okay? There's another eligibility center also for the NAIA, which is another conference or another recruiting organization or college organization out there, and they've got their own sets of rules and regulations that you'd have to adhere to that you want to register for in order to be eligible to be recruited by a school that's in the NAIA. So there's 2 eligibility centers. So things to be aware of, and you might want to write these down. If you are serious about playing in college, it'd be a good idea to register for both. Now let's talk about some of the recruiting mistakes that everybody makes. I made every one of these because I just didn't know. Okay? First of all, I played on this big, at the time there was no 6A back then. Okay, I'm old. 5A was the biggest. I was one of the bigger 5A schools in the state of Utah, ranked number 1 in the state of Utah. And my very first thing was, if you're good enough, you think they're going to come find you. I thought, well, there's no way I'm not going to be recruited, right? We're the best team in the state. How are they not going to find me? Right? Do not fall for that. Just because you've got a really good team does not necessarily mean they're going to come. Here's the problem. You look at these stars on the map. If I'm a college coach that's got a limited recruiting budget, and I can only travel limitedly to go find potential student athletes, am I going to go to a population center like Utah that's only got 2 million people in the entire state, Or am I going to go down to Los Angeles? It's got 20 million people in Los Angeles County alone. Is it because the better student athletes are down there? No. It's because I got a better chance of seeing more people with full potential for the bang from the dollars I have to spend. So you can kind of see big recruiting centers, the big stars. I'm going to these areas not because I think these student athletes are better. It's just because I have a chance to see more for less money. Okay? Second, do you believe that you will play at the college? You will play at a college level, at a local college. A lot of you guys might have your favorites right here locally, right? I'm going to go play for Utah. I'm going to go play for Weber State. I'm going to play for BYU. Nothing wrong with that. But realize that colleges typically, especially big D1 schools, and unfortunately for us here in Utah, we're a big D1 top-heavy state. There's not a lot of opportunities with D2s, D3s, NEIAs. We only have a couple of JUCOs in this state, right? And so, how bad do I want to play, and am I willing to look at other opportunities as well? Am I going to get hung up on one school and just put all of my efforts in that one school, or am I going to open up opportunities by looking at all opportunities to find out what's the best fit? We're going to talk more about that here now. Another mistake we make, we believe we're being a starter, a team captain, all leader, even all state's going to get you recruited. Again, these college coaches are not reading the Deseret News that's going to write about you in your great games. You could be all state in here, and the only schools that might hear about you are these local ones. A great school down in California, a great one up in Washington, a good one over in Arizona may not even know who you are because they're not going to read these papers, right? Next, you believe you're going to be discovered at a tournament, a showcase, or a combine. I love tournament showcases, combines, all these kind of things as well. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you one little secret right here. Because Coach Norman does a phenomenal job getting you guys out there and creating as many opportunities for college coaches to see you. But if you're just going to these tournaments hoping to get discovered, it's like playing the lottery. Because I can tell you this, college coaches do not go to these tournaments hoping to discover new talent. If I've got $2,000 a year to spend on my recruiting budget, I am not going to go to a tournament and just take a chance on hoping to discover somebody. I'm going there to go recruit kids I already know about. So can I give you one little hint right now? And if you're smart, you'll write this down and put a note on your phone. If you know you've got a tournament coming up that college coaches are going to be at, a lot of times the tournament will list these colleges that are coming. If you're smart, you will reach out to these college coaches in advance. Coach, I want to introduce myself. My name is such and such. I play for such and such team. We're going to be at this tournament on this date. I wanted to forward you a copy of my player profile in advance and introduce myself. I'd love to have a chance to meet you all there if you're interested. All of a sudden, boom, you've raised your hand. How many people do you think, how many other student athletes do you think are doing something like that? Hardly anybody. These are called separation skills that we teach at these seminars. Teaching you how to separate yourself from your competition and create opportunities for yourself, right? So, don't hope by just going to the tournament, you're going to get discovered. Because I can guarantee you, if I'm a college coach, I'm there to see this other kid over here. Now there's that chance that if all of a sudden I go and look at this other kid and you have the game of your life, all of a sudden, okay, I might take some notes. But that's a really small chance, right? That the right coach is there at the right time. Especially when you guys go to these tournaments, how many courts have they got set up in one tournament? 50, 80, 100? What's the chance the right coach is going to be in your court at the right time to see you play? Unless they know you're there. Okay, number 5. And you believe your games are going to get scouted. They're going to come see you. Again, if they don't know who you are, how are they going to come see you play? Okay? How many of you student athletes in here have a dream school you'd like to play for? Raise your hand for Nobody? None of you have a team you want to play for?
They're lying.
Come on.
I've seen it.
You all have a college you'd love to go play for. Who would love to go play for? Nobody's got a school you want to go play for. So we're all done today? I guess you're done with high school? Who in here would love to play for BYU? Who in here would love to play for Utah?
My time is past. My time is past.
You mentioned the local schools, right? I don't even know if the volleyball programs that we were seeing in Logan Range about, are they? You guys want to play there? Utah State? Okay. I had one Utah, right? So we'd love to play for University of Utah. They got a great program. Let me ask you this question. So let's say I'm the University of Utah coach. I'm talking to you. Okay? And we're going to start talking about the recruiting process and recruiting opportunities. And I come to you, what's your name? Eva? Thank you. All right, Eva, I'm coming to you as a college coach. Eva, we're talking. And I like how you play, Eva. I'd love to have you come take a look at our program. I think we can have a good fit for you as well. Now, the problem I have this year when you graduate is I'm kind of out of scholarship money and whatever. So I'm going to invite you, I want you to come out, but we're going to talk about it, tryout, possibly walk-on situation. You're going to have to pay for all your, I don't have any scholarship money. But if all works out well, you work really hard, you could qualify for some scholarship money maybe the next year, maybe get some playing time eventually if you're good enough. And if you show up and if you are part of the team and we let you kind of come on and play on the practice squad, we can probably get you in our program. How's that sound to you?
Not very good.
Not very good, right? Absolutely. How many times I say the word if in there? And college coaches do this all the time, right? And we're going to talk about some of the signs and signals of what college coaches say and how they say it to let you know how serious they really are about you, right? Because I'm not trying to get you to come. I get you to come. I get you to come for free, and I'm not going to spend my scholarship money on you. Even better, right? Because I've got a budget of scholarships over here, and if I get you to come and I don't have to spend anything, even better. So we're going to talk about what are some of the signs and signals that college coaches look at, and why we don't necessarily want to get hung up on the one school as well, on what they're saying to you, right? Okay. So how do you know if you're behind the recruiting process? Well, first of all, if you're a freshman in high school, why anybody that young in here? Any freshmen? One, great. All right, freshmen. Well, you're already getting behind the process if your GPA is below a 3.0. So hopefully we don't have any of that here, right? Sophomores, any sophomores in here? Got a couple, okay, great. 3. Well, you're already starting to fall behind if you're not at least part of the varsity squad or playing on a high-end club organization, okay? 11th graders, juniors? Any juniors in here? How many of you, anybody heard from a college coach yet? Okay, we got one. So this is the year this needs to happen, or we're already going to start falling behind. Does that mean you are right now? Not necessarily, but before this year is over, there better be some contacts happening, because that's when the recruiting process starts with the high school coach. And seniors. By the time you're a senior, if you've got a college recruiting you, you're going to know because there's going to be multiple conversations happening on a regular basis. They've got to get their rosters locked in. So these are some of the signs and signals to know if you're in that college recruiting process right now. Okay? So, we're going to take let's do well, we kind of did that a little bit already. I'm going to give you an example here. How does the college recruiting process work? Well, college coaches, in order to get information out there, a lot of times we'll start with something as simple as a mailing list or an email list. Back in my day, they were mailing lists. And sometimes they do still send out forwarders. A lot of times they get your emails now, and they will send out a mailing list. Now, is there anybody in this room who has received at least a letter from the college? Okay, we got a few of you, great. Now, one of the things I want you to understand on these letters, these camp brochures, these recruiting questionnaires, if I'm a bigger college program, I've sent out about 10,000 of those. Now, when I was in high school, I was playing for this number 1 ranked team in the state, right? I probably got about 30 of those. And I was thinking, man, these coaches know who I am. Look at all these letters, I got a stack of them in my bedroom. This is pretty cool. Did I ever even call anyone back or reach out? Just No, I just waiting for them to call me, right? 'Cause I didn't know. They said about 10,000 of us, okay? So next, we want to talk about a recruiting list. Now, these college coaches have a recruiting board in their office, and on this recruiting board, they typically have the top 10 or 12 student athletes they're recruiting for that player position each year. Okay, so I'm going to have all the player positions up there. I'm going to have 10 and maybe 12 prospective student athletes that I can recruit this next year for that player position if I have it available. Okay? So on my recruiting list, at this point, if you're on that, I'm going to start sending out a personal letter, a personal email. Okay? Personal notes. I'm going to reach out to your high school coach or your club team coach and just ask about you. Anybody have any of that so far? Okay, we got one. All right. So now you know you're on the recruiting list if you're getting that kind of a communication. If you haven't had that kind of communication yet, you're probably not even on the recruiting board yet. Third, we get to the recruiting boards. At this point, when you start moving up these recruiting boards, these college coaches now will start contacting you on a more regular basis. They're going to start checking into you. Now, this is when you are becoming a junior or a senior. And they're going to try to start locking down positions because I want to start committing my player as soon as possible, especially if I'm offering scholarship money, because I've got to get my top recruit. And like I said, I've got 10 to 12 kids on that list, right? And I'm going to start talking. I'm going to offer a lot of times unofficial visits. Anybody understand the difference between an unofficial visit and an official visit? The unofficial visit is what? Come on out and see me on your dime. I'd love to have you come out and tour the campus. We'd love to visit with you. Right? An official visit, I'm the coach. I'm going to send you the plane ticket. I'm going to put you up in the hotel close by. I'm going to wine and dine you. I'm going to take care of you when you come out. Right? That's your official visits. And the rule on those official visits has changed recently. They used to have a limitation on those. And they've opened those up so these colleges can really recruit and invite whoever they want out that. Fourth, your top 5 recruit. This is where the official visits happen, weekly phone calls, and scholarship offers start happening. Anybody at this point, any offers? Any weekly phone calls? Okay. So this right here should be a good eye opener for all of you. I'm not where I need to be. How many seniors do we have in this room? We got a few of you. We got some work to do, right? This is the year. Is it too late for you? Absolutely not. But as Coach Norman's working with you, and you're planning your travel, you're going through your high school program this year. Understand there's some things I'm going to teach you today that you need to do to get there, because the clock is ticking, the time is running out. Okay? So, some of the 4 recruiting facts you cannot ignore, and I've talked about this a little bit already. A contact is not a contract. I mentioned to you, I had a stack of letters in my bedroom, right? I was thinking, man, I'm getting recruited. Just because they reach out and contact you doesn't mean it's done. Understand, they're contacting you between 10 to 15 or 20 other kids in your player position, just like they're talking to you. Because they cannot put all their effort into just you, hoping you're going to come to them. So they're going to talk to 10 or 15 others and say the exact same thing they're saying to you, to them. And then they're going to go to their top recruit, and they're going to make an offer. If that recruit goes somewhere else, they're going to go to their next recruit and make an offer. And if that recruit goes somewhere else, they're going to go to the next one. So depending on where you fall on that recruiting board, it's going to be where if a coach all of a sudden goes quiet on you and never returns a call any longer, they just sign that person above you. And they moved on, right? Here's another one here. Recruiting fact number 2. You don't get to pick the college is going to pick you. These coaches, like I said, have got a list of kids they're going through. So I really encourage my student athletes, do not get hung up on one school, guys. There's more than just a name that you're looking for to go play in college. It's about how much funding can I get? Is it going to be the right school for me? Is it going to be a good education for me? Is it going to help me get the degree that I need for whatever career I want to go into, right? Is it going to be the right environment for me to go into? So let's look at more than just a name and that dream school. And Go find the school that wants you, right? When you go dating, you find that cute guy that you want to go date, but he's not paying any attention to you. How much time do you want to waste on him if he's never going to pay any attention to you, right? You want the one that's excited about you, right? Go where you wanted, not where you want to go. And lastly, if they do not fund, you are done. If they're going to offer scholarship money, you know that you are a good fit for that school because they want you to come and you're going to get playing time and you're going to be an integral part of that team. I hear so many kids talk about how I want to go over here and just walk on because that's where I want to go to school. I'm going to hopefully get a spot. How bad does the coach want you? If he's going to let you come or she's going to let you come, pay 100% of your education, and come bust your hump every day in practice, and they're not going to pay a dime for you. Is there any appreciation for you there? When there's opportunities at other schools who will pay for you to come and be there, if they're going to invest in you, they're going to expect for you to be participating and be a part of that organization to be successful. They feel like you have something to contribute to make them successful and win championships. That's where you want to go. Alrighty, so let's talk about the recruiting process then. Question, whose job is it to get you recruited then? Good answer. I see someone pointing to herself over here, right? Because again, I'm going to keep referring back to my high school education. And here I am on this #1 ranked team in the state of Utah, and I was looking at my high school coach going, Coach, where's all the offers? Why aren't you bringing me colleges? Right? And what I found out was, it wasn't his job to get me recruited. You know, Coach Norman over here does a phenomenal job creating opportunities for you guys to go play in college, but guess what? It's really not her job to do that. Her job is to develop you into the best volleyball players you can become. And the fact that she spends as much time as she does helping you try to create opportunities in front of college coaches, that's great. That's a side effect of it that she happens to do because she loves what she does and she loves all of you. But it's not her job to get you recruited. She cannot make you go pick up the phone and call that college coach and try to introduce yourself. She can't make you return an email to a coach who reached out to you. It's your job to do that. All right? Coach John Oliver just made that point. He was a former college coach at Tennessee and an NBA coach. It's not the college coach's job to find every potential student athlete, and it's the student athlete's job to find every potential college coach. It's not the high school coach's job to get you recruited. It's your job, it's your future, right? Here's the sad reality, guys, is the percentages of high school student athletes who actually get to go on and play. You can see we've got these broken down by sport. So women's volleyball is second to the bottom line, and the overall high schools, the NCAA is only 3.9% get to go on and play in the NCAA. Now, luckily, there's 7 governing bodies out there. The NCAA isn't the only one, but you got to know how to find them. Right? We got to know how to reach out to those guys. The guys who know how to be proactive in this process dramatically increase that percentage. I'll tell you that right now. Let's talk about, we've talked a little bit about the walk-ons, right? Walk-ons have changed quite a bit over the years. Back in my day, teams actually allowed tryouts and allowed walk-ons. It's getting to the point now where teams a lot of times don't even offer. As a matter of fact, 90% of the college teams no longer even conduct tryouts. And a walk-on is by invitation only, which means the coach feels like you're good enough to play here, but I'm out of scholarship money, and if I can get you to come here for free, I'd love to still have it. And maybe down the road we might find some money for you if you're lucky. But you would be a good asset in my pocket as a coach if you're willing to spend your own money to come. And maybe we'll get you some money down the road, right? So typically, Coach Scott's got a phrase usually says the word walk on. If you walk on, it was walking off. It's a big percentage of walk-ons usually quit as well as they get so frustrated. No playing time, they're paying 100% of their education, and they're busting their hump in practice every day, get screaming, yelled out, and really go reports, right? So go where you want it, not where you want to go. We get a lot of questions about the transfer portal. Anybody understand or know about the transfer portal in here? It has changed college recruiting, and not necessarily in our opinion for the better. And especially for you high school student athletes, it's made the recruiting process much more difficult. Because what has happened now is there's really no limitation to me as a college player that if I want to transfer, I can go and leave. Here's the challenge for the transfer portal. 52% of the high school athletes who go into the transfer portal never come out. So you guys might be thinking, well, I'm going to go to that school, if I don't like it, I'll just go to another school. So what do? I'm not happy with the school I'm playing at. I decided to declare I'm going into the transfer portal. Well, I just told my current coach what? I'm out of here. So I just burnt that bridge. I've now gone to the transfer portal. And the coach or two that I was talking to ended up having somebody they liked better than me, and they decided to take them. And now I have nothing. And I'm out. I just gave up my college career going to the transfer portal. We get to hear the stories of all these kids at D1 level again, right? They just went from a smaller D1 school to a bigger D1 school, but that's a very small minority. And so the problem with that is it has created a problem where college coaches now are hesitating on recruiting their high school student athletes until the transfer portal is done to see what other college player I can get first to fill that role, right? And so it's really shortened our time frames. So you can see down here the NCAA transfer portal dates for women's volleyball, Sunday, December 7th through January the 5th. There's 1 month right now. We're in the middle of it. So college coaches right now might be talking to you, but guess what they're also doing? They're talking to these potential transfers that I might want to fill first before I actually get to my high school kids. But as of January 5th, that closes down, and now I'm going to put 100% my focus back on, okay, now I got to wrap up my high school college recruitment. Right? Okay. NIL. I don't know how much NIL coach plays in volleyball. Some of the bigger programs, I think, have a little money. But you hear about NIL all the time, especially football, right? And basketball, these big multi-million-dollar contracts that these kids are getting, and that's all we ever hear about. And the reality of NIL is that you can see here that the NCAA Division I athletes, the average NIL money that D1 kids saw was about $3,700. So it's not as big a deal as we're hearing about. Yeah, those top blue chip recruits around the country get these gigantic, enormous contracts, but they are very few, right? D2, in a best case scenario, the average is about $500 a year. D3, about $300 a year if the school has any to give you, right? So NIL is not going to play as big of a role as what we hear in the media all the time, unless for some reason we've got a real big blue chip athlete here, and the team got some money. But it has changed college recruiting quite a bit, especially the D1 level. So I go through and I give you guys a lot of, I shouldn't call it bad news, but a lot of reality when it comes to college recruiting. Here's the good news. If you want to play, there is a way. Because again, the college coach's average recruiting budget is only about $2,000 a year. And if you can breach the problem that coaches have, the number one problem that coaches have is what? Finding the recruits. The very big number one reason. We are here in Utah, which is not a recruiting hotbed state. And if you are the one reaching out to the coach to introduce yourself, that right there is more than half the battle. All of a sudden they discover you because you raised your hand. Being proactive in this process is a huge part of it. Just the fact that the coach could find you. You never know. And it's not just one. It's as many as you can reach out to, right? It's as many as you're willing to reach out to. Now, some of you may say, well, there's only this many schools in the state of Utah. Well, you're right, but there's 2,200 college programs around the country. We're going to talk about some of the things that college coaches look for and a few things that really raise your value in the college recruiting process. Now here's the one. I heard Coach Norman talk about this already a couple times this morning. Grades. Oh, what a pain, grades. I hate grades, right? But grades really increase your opportunities, right? You look at what grades can do with eligibility for schools. With a 4.0 GPA, you're eligible for about 94% of the colleges and universities in the country. A 3.5 GPA and a 24 on the ACT, you're eligible for 72% of the colleges in the country, because these colleges have minimum academic requirements that you have to meet just to be eligible to get in, right? So if I don't have a grade point average or a GPA high enough, I may not be able to get into this school over here. BYU is not easy to get into, right? Stanford is not easy to get into, right? Now we're talking about a 3.0 GPA with a 21 on the ACT, which is still not bad, right? It's pretty average, but you just knocked yourself down to 50%. You can't even get into 50% of the schools. Do grades matter? Absolutely. Does that ACT test and that SAT matter? You can't believe it. I've got a niece, and it's funny, she's really mad about this. She went and took the ACT for the first time and got a 31 the first time. And I went, whoa, and she was mad. I only got a 31. She went and took it again and got a 33. Unfortunately, my son went to the practice and he only got a 16. I'm looking at him going, dude. He's got some work to do. Do you guys realize what that ACT score can do for you? Not only for eligibility for a school, but for scholarship money, academic funding. You start getting above a 26 there in college, there are scholarships out there available to you that are academic, okay? Now you guys play volleyball. I would say that there's a good portion of the college coaches out there, Big D1 programs excluded, that don't have full-ride athletic scholarships for volleyball, but they've got partials. Now let me ask you a question. How valuable are you to a college coach? One, this college coach thinks you've got the talent and the ability to come play and make my team better. I've got limited money to give out for scholarship money. Now you come to the coach because you scored a 28 on your ACT, and all of a sudden, you've got 75%, 80% of your school paid for academically. Now, I as a coach goes, wow, you qualify for this much money academically, I only got to give you this much of my recruiting budget now to get you to 100%. How much more valuable to a college coach are you because you did what you needed to do in the classroom? I'm going to offer you immediately because I want you to come because not only are you a great player to help my team, but you're going to cost me less money. Do grades matter, guys? Get it done in the classroom and it'll just pay back like you won't believe, right? Coach Norman is a big fan of sitting in the front of the classroom. You guys have probably all heard that, right? Sit up in front. Participate, ask questions. It's proven that your grades go up when you do that because you learn differently, you learn better, and you follow through on your assignments. It all impacts you right there. Okay? Couple of just examples. Private Coast University, full tuition is $30,000 a year, but they've got presidential scholarships, they've got academic awards, they've got what's called a St. Francis Scholarship. These are all things that if you meet the minimum requirements, they can help you pay for your college education. Right? Southwest Oregon Community College has all these different sports. All you need is a 3.7 GPA, 100% tuition. Paid for it with a 3.7 GPA. Does that make a difference? So how do we do this? I'll make sure I'm on time here. There's a concept that Coach Scott, and you guys did not get a chance to meet him. He's my mentor coach. He's the owner of College Coaches Connection. And he's the one who recruited me into college. And I didn't get a chance to tell you about the story, but I'll get to that a little later with you guys if you want to hear about it. But he implemented a thing called the Hour of Power. Now, what is the Hour of Power? I mentioned to you guys that I grew so fast through high school that it took me some time to develop some skill sets, right? And I didn't get recruited out of college, but I did get to go play college ball. Coach Scott was one of the coaches at Salt Lake Community College, and they just by chance found me in a regular gym. I got lucky. And they saw my height, they saw my size, and they looked at me and said, I can develop this kid, let's bring him on. And I got to come play for Slick. But I had a lot of work to do to get to Coach Scott pulled me aside and started giving me drills to do, right? So I go to practice, we do these drills. But what I started doing is I realized that I was a little behind in the college, in the athletic process, is I started showing up to practice an hour early and doing my drills. And then I'd practice for 2 to 3 hours with my team, and I'd stay after an hour later, and I'd do more drills. Okay? An hour. I wanted to get better so I could keep playing. Well, guess what happened to me? My sophomore year at Salt Lake Community College, our team was good enough. We actually ended up winning our conference tournament, went to the national tournament, finished fifth in the nation, and there were D1 schools in the stands at that tournament. And I was recruited by schools like LSU, Charleston Southern, Idaho State, Hawaii Eagle, a bunch of schools out there. I signed a scholarship at Charleston Southern University out of South Carolina, part of the Big South Conference, and I won another conference championship. Because I instituted something, and I wasn't the only reason for these teams winning, but I was a big part of it because I did my hour of power. How bad do you guys want to keep playing? Now, that hour of power is not just for volleyball, but it's also for your grades, right? How bad do I need to get my GPA up, or to study harder for the ACT test or the SAT? Can I come home and just put an extra hour and make sure my homework assignments are done on time? And I put a little extra effort, and not only am I just turning them in, but I'm trying to turn them in and make sure I get the A instead of the C. An hour of power. All these things will dictate how bad you really want to play in college. Okay? Coach Scott's got a lot of these sportisms he loves to say. The definition of a player. First on the floor, last out the door. Any of you ever heard interviews by Kobe Bryant? He's done a lot of interviews. There's one of his interviews that stood out to me that really impacted me heavily. And he talked about how, in this interview, they were talking about one of his other teammates were complaining about how Kobe would never pass him the ball. And Kobe was talking about this in this interview, and he was like, I go to practice, and I'm there an hour or 2 hours before practice starts, and I'm just working my butt off before even our practice, team practice starts. And I watch you walk in 5 minutes before practice starts, and then we practice, and I watch you leave the second practice is over, you're out the door. Why am I going to pass you the ball? Was his attitude. Right? Because Kobe believed in an hour of power. He believed in putting in the effort to be the best. How much do you love the sport? How much do you want to be able to pay for your college education? I don't know about you guys, but I can raise my children telling them, I'm not paying for your college education. I'm not one of these parents that's going to save my money and put it in some fund so I can pay for your education, but I will teach you how to get scholarships to get paid for. And I raised all my kids that way. And so far, they've all gone on scholarships to college. Right? Earn it yourself and get out there. Let's get through a couple of these. We're starting to get all out of time here. Some of the intangibles. Parents, here's some things I'd love to talk to you about. I'm one of them now, so it's kind of interesting that I've gone through this process. I raised my kids, and I got to coach the junior jazz, and I got to coach the club teams, and I raised my boys and my daughter, and I got to coach them through all these things. I was training them and getting them to that next level, and there was a certain point that became very difficult for me, where they got to that late middle school, high school age, and I had to turn them over to their high school college, their high school club team coaches. But then I'd sit in the stands. I'm not here in the stands yelling at my kid, don't you remember this, do this? I'm screaming at them right in the stands. Or we get done with the game afterwards. We get in the car going home, and we start talking about all the screw-ups. We practice it. Why are you still doing this out there, right? One of the things I had to learn as a parent was there's a certain point where I've got to stop coaching on game days. And I got to start being a parent on game days, and I've got to let the coaches coach on game days. Did that mean I stopped getting in the gym with them on off days? No, we still worked out and did things on off days. But on game days, I was there to cheer my kid on. And after the game, no matter how well or bad the game went, we get in that car and we talk about all the good things they did. And if they wanted to talk about some of the mistakes or some of the challenges, we talked through it exactly why. But I would try to start taking the pressure off of them. I did not need to be that parent who was the coach as well. Because I can guarantee you, especially once they got to high school and then even into college, when they screwed up on the court, that coach was already ripping them up one side and down the other in the locker room. They did not need it from me anymore. And so one of the things I learned was relaxed athletes and better athletes. They needed a safe haven. And I need to learn how to start backing off as coach and start being a dad. Right? So parents, be their cheerleader, especially on game days. Does that mean you stop working out with them and training them? Absolutely not. Get out there on the court or the field or wherever the sport they play and work them out. But be their biggest cheerleader on game days and don't focus on the mistakes. And help them be more relaxed in their local sport. I've got one special story that I love. That my daughter was an all-state athlete from her freshman year on to her senior year when she graduated. And she was going into her senior year between her junior and senior year. And she did play volleyball and basketball. And she was a straight A student. And she came to me at the end of the volleyball season, starting the basketball season, where they were overlapping. Her head basketball coach was really coming down hard on her because practice was not going so well because she'd been working out in volleyball, so she was trying to get back up on basketball. She was making mistakes, and so the coach is screaming at her over here. Her volleyball coach is screaming at her over here. She's trying to keep up on her grades and all her tests, and she came to me in tears. Just hating all of it. And she, at one point, was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And at that point, I realized, as a parent, the best thing I could do was to help take the stress off. And we had a conversation about, well, do you want to quit? And she says, I don't know. I said, well, let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you this right now. She says, I know I'm a basketball player. I played college ball, and I raised you to play ball. But I said, basketball does not define who you are. If you want to quit tomorrow, I'm still going to love you the same way as if you kept playing. I don't care. Because basketball is a sport you've got to love and play. And if you play it or not, it doesn't define you. I don't care if you're dad. And the minute I said that, I watched the stress leave her shoulders, and it was almost like, okay, I can do this. Because she had a safe haven to come home to, because she was getting hit everywhere else out there, and she needed someplace to be safe at home. Be that positive parent, right? Be that support for them now that you've got them there, because they are getting it from everywhere else, right? You don't need to be the parent who complains and screams and knows the team better. It's funny, I always use the example of basketball games because if you see a coach who ever, during a timeout, you guys ever seen this? Coach calls timeout, and instead of having his team on the bench, he pulls them out in mid-court for the timeout. You ever wonder why a coach does that? Usually it's because he's got the one or two dads behind the bench who's like trying to get the kids' attention to say, hey, you need to be doing this better, you need to be doing this better. Try it more. And the coach is on the bench trying to tell the kids, excuse me, he's trying to tell his kids to run the play or play defense, and he's got the parents back there taking their attention. Let the coaches coach on game day, right? And then work on skill sets on off days. Anyway, I've got a few of these, but I think you've got the point what we're trying to cover as far as this goes, guys. Our student athletes will produce better and will be happier playing the sport if we can support them. And also give them that positive effort of all the hard work they put in and all the successes they're having. Right? Doesn't mean we don't have to keep working. We can't keep working on the weaknesses on the off days. But game days, they need us to be their biggest cheerleader. On that sheet that I handed out, I even have just kind of a fun thing to put together for parents as far as we call it the positive sports parenting rules. And if you'll follow those, that'll help. Okay, student athletes, our situation. What is your situation right now? Are you one of these right now that's in a tough situation where, yeah, the coach never plays me and I work my tail off in practice all the time and I'm just not getting playing time and I'm not getting this and I'm not getting that, right? It happens. We've all had those tough situations. I've been in those tough situations where I'm not getting the playing time I want or something's not happening or I'm not scoring the points I want to score, right? So how do we change our situation? How do we deal with the situation we're at? And this is not just in our sports, it could be in your school, it could be in friendships, it could be in a work situation, right? How do we change our situation? Well, the only way we can do that is by going one direction or the other. I can speak in a way where We've got negative words, negative habits, negative actions, negative thoughts. Well, what does that mean? Am I the player on the team that because I'm not getting the playing time I want, that I'm going on my teammates out to practice or during games, and I'm the one that, man, coach sucks, and coach is doing this, and I don't know why they're playing such and such over me, she's terrible. I don't know why she gets more playing time than I do. Am I the one who's the cancer on the team? Okay? Or the opposite side of it is positive words, positive habits, positive actions, and positive thoughts. Does it change your situation immediately? Not like the second you start. But if you're the player that's on the bench, first to stand up and clap for your teammates, you're high-fiving, you're in practice there first, or even early, and you're working your tail off in practice. You're there late doing extra drill work. You're speaking positive to your teammates, you're an uplifter instead of a downer, right? That's how you change your situation. You know, I was never really a big fan of what he played Kobe Bryant, but the more I studied Kobe, the more I've been impressed with how hard he would work. He just worked hard and wanted to be the best out on the court. You're not going to get better, you're not going to get more playing time. When you get to the workforce, you're not going to get that promotion. You're not going to get a better job situation if you're the one complaining about it all the time. Do something about it, but do something positive about it. Work harder, speak better, and make these happen. Okay? Give more, you're going to get more. And negativity never gets positive. Okay. So here's 5 key recruiting rules for you student athletes. And if you remember these, they'll help. Really easy to remember, right? School is cool. Not coach. Whatever, right? Again, positive thoughts. School is cool. Can you dedicate an hour of power? Can you turn that phone off and not scroll Instagram for an hour to just do that little extra to make sure your homework's turned in not only on time, but it's been turned into where, okay, I know I can get an A on this. Can I spend a little extra time, get some extra credit in it? Can I go talk to my teacher and find out what else more I can do? Can I make sure I get to class on time and not get retards? Right? Again, review, don't play the fame game. Don't get hung up on one school, guys. Go look for the opportunities. Find the coaches who would be interested in you. There's 4 things that we would always look for as far as a characteristic for a good recruiting opportunity for a student athlete. My oldest son's the first one I put through college, and he actually ended up going to a couple different schools right here because of this. But when we look at a college, it's not just about the name. It's not just about the location. For us, my son wanted to play college ball, and he didn't care where. He ended up playing in Washington, he ended up going out and finishing out in Virginia, believe it or not. But it was about 4 things. 1, is the school going to be a good fit on the team for the player position? Am I going to get playing time? Right? Number 2, are they going to give me funding? Number 3, does it have the right academic programs that I want to study for the career that I want to go into? And number 4, is it going to be the right environment for me? Right? There's some schools out there that you may not want to be in. Is my roommate going to be one of those that's going to be out partying every single night and out doing whatever they do all the time? And do I want to be in that kind of environment? Or do I want to be in one that's going to be focused and success and focused on grades? What kind of environment? And there's things that you can do to find this out in advance before you go commit. Okay? Here's the biggest one. We get so hung up on Division 1. If you can remember this one phrase, you don't have to go D1 to B1. Again, can the school provide you with an opportunity to play? Can they provide you with funding so I don't have to pay for it? Is it got the right degree in education and does it have the right environment? Nowhere in those 4 characteristics does it say anything about D1. My oldest son was 6'8", 250 pounds, and had a very successful career playing Division III basketball. And he was a conference leader playing at that level. I had an opportunity to recruit at LSU. When we won that championship at the junior college level, one of the schools of recruiting was LSU. Dale Brown was the head coach at the time. He flew me all the way down to Louisiana, to LSU. They were looking for a big man. The reason they were looking for a big man at that time, and this is going to age me a little bit, but there was this big guy that used to play at LSU that had just left that year. He was only a junior, but he left early to go play in the NBA. Some of you guys have heard of him. His name's Shaq, right? He had just left LSU. Del Brown was looking for another big man to come in. Now, they flew me down on a recruiting visit. Gave me the whole logistics tour. Holy smokes, I was so blown out. I couldn't believe it. I go into the locker rooms, they're amazing. I go to the gymnasium, and they got my name up on the scoreboard as I walked into the gym. And they're showing me all this stuff. They're talking about all the money this program's got down there. And all the sponsors and all the people who help and all this stuff. And I just was blown away. I was like, wow. But just before I left that recruiting trip, I got to meet some of the players on this team. And one of the guys I met was this big, tall Russian kid. He was every bit as tall as I was. He was 50 pounds heavier than I was. And for the last couple of years, this is the kid who got to play behind Shaq and got beat up by Shaq on practice every single day. And then had to get limited minutes in the games behind Shaq in the games. They were looking for a new guy to come in and play behind him. I was like, well, and they offered me a full-ride scholarship. And I was like, wow, this place is amazing. And then I took a recruiting trip out to Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston Southern University. It was just recently changed from what was called the Baptist College of Charleston. It was a private school, Division I. I walked on campus, and they walked me into the gym. Now, I walked into LSU's gym, and it held 18,000 people, right? Amazing, big, gigantic jumbotron, all this kind of stuff. I walked into Charleston Southern's gym. Now, I graduated from Brighton High School. When I walked into Charleston Southern's gym, Brighton High School's gym was bigger than Charleston Southern's gym. It held more people. Small D1 school. Part of the Big South Conference. But they had the academic programs I wanted. They offered me a full-ride scholarship. The last thing the coach said to me before I left was, Chad, we're only recruiting one person this year. It's a center. I need a guy to come in and be my starting guy to push the rest of my guys out of the positions they need to be in so we can win. You come here, you're our guy. I went home, and believe it or not, I was still hung up on LSU. I was like, whoa, this thing was amazing, all the money, all this and that. And I was talking, and Coach John Scott, who you guys haven't met yet, was kind of my mentor at that time. I called him, I says, you wouldn't believe it, I was just talking about LSU, and we talked about some of their options, and Charleston Southern kind of came up, and we started talking about what I should do. And he looked at me and he says, well, what do you want to do? He says, you go to LSU, you're probably not going to play much. You go over here, you're going to be a starter. What do you want to do? And I says, I want to play. He says, it sounds like you're going to right. And I took the full-ride scholarship at Charleston Southern. My first year there, we were the Big South Conference champions. Go where you want, not where you want to go. Okay? Lastly, what is your best competition level? Here's the big thing, guys. How do I know what level I can play at? There's a lot of categories, a lot of things to take into consideration, from your grades to what you can do on the court, your height, your size, your speed, your quickness, your ability, right? And some of that can be determined by your coaches. They can help. We do evaluations of student athletes all the time as well to help you determine what is your best level so that we can help you get marketed to the right levels of competition as well to create as many opportunities as possible. But we determine by what level you can play at. And you can see there's a lot of options here. Even junior colleges, Slick, their basketball programs, what's considered Division I junior college. One of the best in the nation. A lot of the junior colleges like Slick can beat some D1 smaller schools, right? So there's a lot of great opportunities out there depending on what level you can play at. And the last thing is you need to have a game plan. If you plan on playing the game, you want to play it. Those who fail to plan to fail, right? So have a game plan on how to get there. How am I going to reach out? How am I going to have conversations? Now, one of the things that Coach Scott is he's also an author. And I do have a book here he asked me to bring that if you guys would like, we can get you one. But all this information he's condensed into a book that walks you through the college recruiting process. How the college sports really work, key recruiting information and steps, how to get on recruiting boards, how to be seen by college coaches. We've got this broken down with funding. You know, there's 25 different ways you can get college scholarships in college. And he's got these broken down and how to find them and how to look for them and what you're doing there. We've got some information per sport in here also. What do college coaches look for? How do you evaluate someone at what level you can play at? And he's got these broken down by sport as far as what do I have to do? How do I know if I'm a D1 athlete, a D2 athlete, a Division III athlete? What would be my best competition level? We've got those broken down there, right? Basketball, sports like swimming, track and field, the things that are measurable, really easy because we've all the times broken down there also for those kind of sports as well. And then how do we handle things like camps, tournaments, showcases, and combines? I kind of mentioned some of that for you guys. I gave you a nugget, didn't I? Remember what it was? Before you go to a tournament, what do? Reach out first. Let them know you're coming. Make it so they're looking for you. That's just a free nugget for you right there. Just go and prepare for any tournament that Coach Martin and this organization is taking you to. Let these guys know you're coming, who you are. Have an online recruiting profile that you can share with these coaches so they can see highlight video, all your stats, really important. We offer one for free if you don't have one. This recruiting book, I've got a few more here. If you want one, they're just $20. He just covers his cost to produce them. And you're welcome to come see me afterwards and grab one if you like. He's got a Venmo for it as well. A couple last things I just want to leave with you guys. The college recruiting, it is a process, but it's not a privilege. There's been too much time spent in the media, too much time spent in movies that talk about how these coaches just come fight kids, right? You see these blue chip movies and The Blind Side and how the coaches just woman themselves to come find these athletes, and we just think that's how it's supposed to be for all of us. Are there a few elites out there that are kind of like that? Yeah, but it's a very small percentage that get all that attention, unfortunately. And so it is a process. Knowing how to navigate that process is half the battle. If you would like, all of you got a form that I handed out before we started. If you'd like to fill that out, one of our coaches will reach back out to you to do a free evaluation and kind of talk about where you are in this process. And give you an evaluation of what levels of competition are some of the best ones based on all of the whole package, right? Where you give a free evaluation. We can also show you some things that we as college coaches do to mentor our kids through. We've had 100% of the kids that we've worked with that come on board work with us get multiple college opportunities. And we're very good at it as far as that goes. So this is the information we have on there as well. With a Venmo for that book, and then if you want to fill that form out, turn it in to me when you're done. I'll make sure we get our coaches on there, and we'll give you a call back to schedule a time to meet with you and give you that free evaluation as well. Last little thought I want you to think about. When it comes to anything you do in your sports and anything you do in life, is that when excuses start, effort stops. So when I start making excuses, this is why I'm not getting playing time, this is why I'm not doing this is why coach doesn't like me, right? I start making excuses, a lot of times our effort stops. We stop putting in 100%. And this isn't just in volleyball, it's not just any sport we play, but it's in life. And one of the things I love about sports in general is it teaches us some phenomenal life skills that you can take into every aspect of your life, including your work, your profession. When excuses start, effort stops. Right? But when effort starts, excuses stop. When you're willing to put in the extra effort, when you're able to work a little harder than your competition, that the excuses stop. And I'm going to add one more little one-liner in there too, because I took this from the heart when I was working with Coach Scott. I was learning my hour of power. Was if you want to be more than your competition, you have to do more than your competition. Are you willing to do more than that person you're trying to beat out? And who is your competition? Your competition on game day is the other team you're playing against, right? Your competition, if you're not a varsity starter, might be that person who's starting. And are you willing to do more than the person who's starting right now? Who is your competition? If you want to be more than your competition, are you willing to do more than your competition? And that's all I got. If you have any questions for me that I can help you with, I'm going to hang around a little bit afterwards too, so you can come up and say hi. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate Coach Norman having us out. We love being part of High Country Volleyball. She does a phenomenal job. And I'll tell you guys, she does more than most coaches do. You really do go talk to a lot of club team coaches, and they are there to get the best team to go win tournaments, and they do a great job with it. And she just goes above and beyond a lot when it comes to the rest of the process, college recruiting and everything else. She's developing good quality people, right? She's always teaching you guys how to sit in the front of the classroom and be good people as well, not just good volleyball players. And I love the organization she's built. There's a reason why she's as successful as she is, and it's because she's just a good overall person. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to talking to you.